In a country where even the supreme leader's own sister can be publicly humiliated and demoted overnight, imagine what ordinary citizens face every day. 25 million North Koreans live under a system where one overheard conversation can destroy 3 generations of a family. Tonight, you'll hear from a former party official who risked everything to escape after witnessing a power struggle at the very top of Kim Jong-un's regime. This is a story about the price of freedom in the world's most repressive state. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these untold stories to light. Together, we can be a voice for those who cannot speak.
Freedom? Security? Which matters more to you?
It all began like this. October 2019. A hallway inside the party's organization and guidance department in Pyongyang. That evening, I stumbled into something I was never meant to hear. A moment that burned itself into my memory. It actually started at lunch. One of my colleagues from the protocol section pulled me aside in a corner of the hallway. He leaned in so close I could feel his breath on my ear. "Comrade Park, did you hear? About Comrade Kim Yo-jong?" He glanced around. No one was near us. His voice dropped even lower. "They say she's being sent to the Kipumjo. In Korean we call it Kipumjo, the so-called pleasure squad. A secret group of women selected to entertain the top leadership." I froze on the spot. To the pleasure squad? Someone from the Paektu bloodline? The sacred ruling family. A daughter of Kim Jong-il. The younger sister of the supreme leader, Kim Jong-un. Are you out of your mind? Don't joke about things like that. I don't want to believe it either. But the rumor is coming straight from the party center. My hands wouldn't stop shaking the rest of the day. I almost told my wife that evening. But even at home, saying something like that out loud felt suicidal. So I swallowed it, alone. That night, I stayed late at the office. Past 8. Protocol work is like that. When the party center calls, you don't ask why. You just move. Around 9 o'clock, I finally grabbed my briefcase and stepped into the hallway. That's when I heard it. A woman's voice. On any other night, I would have kept walking. But this voice, I knew it instantly. It was Comrade Kim Yo-jong. Without thinking, I slipped behind a column in the hallway and held my breath. About 60 feet ahead, near the Central Committee conference room, voices were coming down the corridor. "Kim Yo-jong and a man. This is an insult." Her voice trembled. I couldn't tell if it was anger or humiliation. "You want me to manage the Kipumjo? You're ordering me to do that?" Silence followed. Does my brother, the supreme leader, not know how hard I've worked for the party? That word brother hit me like a slap. She meant Kim Jong-un. Then a cold male voice answered. Flat, bureaucratic. "Comrade Kim Yo-jong, this is a party decision. Now that succession work for Comrade Ju is entering a full stage, we expect you to fulfill your role. This is a demotion. You know that. It's not a demotion. It's a reassignment." Footsteps started moving in my direction. Panic shot through me. I grabbed the handle of the nearest office door, slipped inside, and shut it without turning on the lights. In the darkness, I could feel my heart pounding against my ribs. I had overheard something I was never supposed to hear. That night, back home, I still couldn't bring myself to tell my wife. But a few days later, I learned what that rumor really meant. And how it would rip my life apart. The next morning, the scene kept replaying in my head on the way to work. Had I really heard what I thought I heard? Could it have been someone else? No, that voice was familiar from countless TV broadcasts. It was Kim Yo-jong. Just before lunch, my senior colleague, Kim Chol-soo, called out to me. "Sung-hoon, let's eat together." He'd worked in the organization and guidance department for over 20 years. A survivor. We took a table in the corner of the cafeteria. He scanned the room, making sure no one sat too close. Then spoke in a low voice. "You were working late last night, right?" My stomach tightened. "Yes, but how did you? I can read it on your face." He sighed. "Sung-hoon, I don't know what you heard. But the party center is a minefield right now. Because of the succession? Yes. The succession work for Comrade Kim Joo-ae is in full swing. The entire party structure is being rebuilt. Comrade Kim Yo-jong is being pushed aside. But she's Paik-2 bloodline. How is that possible? Paik-2 bloodline or not, it doesn't matter. The supreme leader has decided. Joo-ae will be the only successor. He leaned closer. At the last Politburo meeting, Comrade Kim Yo-jong pushed back. Said Joo-ae was still too young. Said it was premature. The supreme leader answered her, cold as ice. Since when does a little sister tell her older brother what to do? He paused. After that, orders went to the organization and guidance department. Reassign Kim Yo-jong. Put her in charge of the Kipumjo. In charge of the pleasure squad? What does that even mean? On paper, it's a party reassignment. But everyone knows the truth. Telling someone of the Paik-2 bloodline to manage the pleasure squad? That's humiliation. That's a fall from grace. He locked eyes with me. Sung-hoon, did you overhear something last night? My throat dried up. No. Nothing. Good. Then forget whatever you didn't hear. State security is tracing the movement of party cadres. Looking for leaks. A cold sweat ran down my back. Sinbei, what happens to people close to Kim Yo-jong? He gave a bitter smile. You know the stories from the Korean War. When you lose a power struggle, they don't just purge you. They purge everyone around you. That's what Yeon JW Asia is, guilt by association. My grandfather's generation lived through that. His voice grew heavy. Be careful, Sung-hoon. You're in protocol. You've handled many of her events. State security might start looking at you, too. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't stop racing. What if they find out what I heard? What if my work with Kim Yo-jong becomes a mark against me? What happens to my son's college prospects? My family? I looked at my wife sleeping beside me and thought, in this country, even living an ordinary life is dangerous. The worst part? Somewhere deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. A week after I first heard talk of investigations, the nightmare tightened its grip. Another cadre from the organization and guidance department vanished. Comrade Park, did you hear? Kim Chol-su's face had gone pale. Comrade Ri Myung-chol was arrested last night. Chief Ri? From the culture section? Ri Myung-chol, section chief in charge of cultural affairs. He handled Comrade Kim Yo-jong's diplomatic events. They say state security barged into his house at dawn. Dragged him out in front of his family. My knees felt weak. He'd been a senior to me by 10 years. Quiet, hardworking, not the kind of man who drew attention. What's the charge? Leaking party secrets. They claim that in mid-October, he overheard a subversive conversation. Mid-October, the exact time I was in that hallway. That afternoon, state security came again. Comrade Park Sung-hoon, we have a few more questions. Same officer as before. This time, he didn't come alone. On the evening of October 17th, are you sure you did not pass near the Central Committee conference room? Yes, I didn't go there. That night, around 9, the light was on in your office. My heart dropped. The room where I had hidden. I had left my briefcase. I went back in to get it. Just for a moment? How long were you there? Maybe 5 minutes? He jotted something down in his notebook. Then he looked up, expressionless. Comrade Park, your son applied to Kim Il-sung University, correct? Yes, but what does that have to do with anything? A party cadre's son. No obvious problem in his record. So why was he rejected? I couldn't answer. Is there some issue inside your family we should know about? No. There's nothing. Then why did he fail? The party is curious. When they left, I sat alone in my chair for a long time, unable to move. The next morning, on my way to work, I noticed something odd. At the bus stop, the same man in a people's uniform stood behind me. He boarded when I boarded. Got off when I got off. Walked several steps behind me all the way to the party compound. I'm being tailed. At lunch, Kim Chol-soo leaned over and spoke without looking at me. Sung-hoon, lately doesn't your commute feel crowded behind you? You saw him too? State security has their eyes on you. Be careful. One wrong move and he didn't finish the sentence. That night at home, my wife couldn't hide her fear. What are we going to do? Her voice shook. Our son didn't get into college. You're on state security's radar. If this continues, they'll destroy us. Our 18-year-old son walked out of his room. Dad, is this because of me? No, it's not your fault. Then what did we do wrong? Why do we have to live like this? He was thinking of my grandfather, swept up and killed under guilt by association during the Korean War. No crime, just the wrong family at the wrong time. That night, I said words I never dreamed I'd say. We have to escape. We have to leave North Korea, even if it costs us our lives. My wife cried. Then she nodded. We had no other choice. Deciding to escape was one thing. Doing it was something else. Leaving North Korea means putting your life on the line. But staying meant eventually dying in a prison camp. So we chose the river. A week later, I went to the Jeongmadang, the black market-style street market on Pyongyang's Tongil Street. A party cadre in a Jeongmadang is an unusual sight. We weren't supposed to shop there. But information about escape routes lived in that gray world. In a corner stall selling Chinese goods, an older woman looked me over. You're looking for a broker near the Tuman River? Yes. You have money? I do. It's $1,000 per person. $3,000 for a family of 3. Half now, half after you cross. I'd been putting money aside for 15 years. Dollars saved through my work as a party official. Access most people never had. Go to Haizen in Ryonggang province. Someone will contact you there. She slipped a small piece of paper into my hand. Back home, I sat across from my wife at the kitchen table. Are we really doing this? We have to. If we stay, we all end up in a political prison camp. You, me, our son. If they catch us in the river, they'll shoot us. If we stay, we either starve or vanish in a camp. This way, at least our son has a chance. Tears ran down her face. What about my parents? They're still alive. Yours are gone, but mine. I know. I'm sorry. I really am. But our son's future comes first. She nodded slowly. You're right. Let's go. For him. We called our son into the room. Listen, I need you to trust me. Across that river, there is freedom. A place where you can study anything you want. Aren't you scared, Dad? Of course I'm scared, but I'm more afraid of something else. I'm afraid of you spending your whole life being watched. Like your great-grandfather. He died under guilt by association during the Korean War. I won't let that happen again. A week before our planned escape, I took leave and went back to my hometown in Hamgyong province. At my parents' graves, at my grandfather's grave, he had died during the war, swept up in a purge he never understood. Father, mother, I'm a bad son. I'm leaving this land. I'm doing it to save my child. When Korea is unified, I'll come back. I promise. I bowed, forehead touching the cold ground. I took one last look at our old house. The yard where I'd played as a boy. The jars where my mother had made kimchi every winter. The riverbank where my father and I had walked together. Goodbye, home. One day, I'll come back. Not as a prisoner, as a free man. Back in Pyongyang, we made final preparations. We packed as little as possible. A few changes of clothes. One family photo. Our cash. At work, I lied. Said I needed to visit relatives in the Northeast. September 15, 2020. The day came. We boarded a train from Pyongyang to Haizen. I held my wife's hand as the train rolled out of the station. Outside the window, the city slid by my city. The Taedong River, Moran Hill, streets I knew by heart. I realized I might never see them again. But I couldn't let myself linger on that thought. We had to move forward. For our son, for our lives. The train headed north, toward the border, toward the Tuman River. We arrived in Haizen 2 days later. That night, the broker met us. We crossed tonight. Get ready. My heart hammered against my chest. He led us to a run-down house on the outskirts of town. 2 other families were already there. Pale faces. No one spoke. We leave at 3 in the morning, the broker said. That's when the guards change shifts. We have a 15-minute window. He spread a hand-drawn map. From here, it's about 2 kilometers, about a mile and a half to the river. The river is about 50 meters wide. The water comes up to your waist, maybe your chest. If we're not across in 15 minutes, we die. My wife gripped our son's hand. I put an arm around his shoulders. At 2 in the morning, we set out. No moon, just darkness, no talking, no lights. If you see a flashlight, drop flat. We walked along a mountain path for more than 40 minutes. My legs trembled. I couldn't tell if it was fear or the cold. That's the Tuman River, the broker whispered. I could hear it before I saw it. The low, steady sound of moving water. It was a September river, but it felt like winter. The broker checked his watch. 2:55. In 5 minutes, we move. Wait for the signal from the guard post. Until then, don't move a muscle. We lay flat in the grass. On the North Korean side, beyond the barbed wire, the guard post lights glowed faintly. At exactly 3 o'clock, the broker hissed. Now, run. We crawled through a cut in the barbed wire, one by one. Dad, my son's clothes snagged on the wire. Quiet, rip it, now. I tore the fabric free and pulled him through. We scrambled down to the riverbank. The water hit my legs like ice. Don't let go of my hand. I grabbed my son's hand. My wife grabbed my jacket. The water rose to our knees, our waists, our chests. Mom, my wife slipped on a rock. I held onto her with one hand, my son with the other. Then it happened. Who's there? A shout from the North Korean side. A beam of light cut across the water. Run, move, the broker screamed. We were halfway across the river when the gunshots started. Cracks split the night air. Water exploded around us. Get down. We ducked, bodies half submerged in the freezing water. The river flooded into my mouth and nose. My lungs burned. Don't stop. If you stop, you die. The broker yelled. I shoved my son forward. My wife pushed me from behind. 10 meters. Then 5. You're almost there. Climb. On the Chinese side, another broker reached out his hands. When I felt solid ground under my knees, my body gave up. I collapsed on the muddy bank, coughing up river water. My wife and son lay beside me, gasping for air. We made it. We're alive. My wife sobbed. I started to cry too. On the opposite bank, the North Korean guard post swept the river with flashlights. Their beam stopped just short of where we lay. That thin line of light was the line between our life and our death. Get moving, the broker snapped. They'll call the Chinese side. We have to disappear. We had crossed the river. But we weren't free. Not yet. Crossing the Tuman River doesn't bring freedom. It only starts another escape. China sends defectors back. North Koreans who are caught are repatriated and many never return. The broker took us to an ethnic Korean village in Yanbian. A Korean Chinese grandmother served us warm rice. We used to be one people, you know, she said in our own language. Back then, this wasn't China. We're the same blood. Stay hidden. Her words broke something open in me. Since the Korean War, our people have been scattered. Just hearing my own language in a different land felt like a hug. But peace never lasted long. Chinese police regularly raided these villages, hunting for defectors. If they found us, they would send us back. And that would be the end. Every night, the sound of a car stopping outside made us stop breathing. We can't stay here, my wife whispered. We need to get to South Korea. Fast. 2 weeks later, the broker brought a South Korean pastor. Brothers and sisters, the pastor said through tears, the Lord has led you this far. I will help you reach South Korea. His network arranged our passage to Laos. From China to Vietnam, from Vietnam to Laos, a month of pure exhaustion. Planes, buses, more buses. Fake IDs at every checkpoint. Every time a guard asked a question, sweat ran down my back. Mom, are we going to get caught? My son asked. No, she said softly. God will watch over us. Finally, we reached Vientiane, the capital of Laos. Dad, look, my son shouted. Over a wall, we saw it. The South Korean flag Taegukji fluttering in the breeze. The South Korean embassy. Let's go. We ran to the gate. Please, help us. We're from North Korea. The guard stared for a second, then opened the gate. Come in. Quickly. Inside the embassy, staff greeted us with calm faces and gentle voices. You've been through so much. You're safe now. The Republic of Korea will protect you. And there, inside that compound, I finally collapsed to my knees and cried. 70 years after the Korean War tore our country in two, that's what it felt like. Like meeting family again after a lifetime apart. A week later, we landed at Incheon International Airport. November 3, 2020. South Korea, the land of freedom. The first thing that hit me at the airport was the light. A convenience store open 24 hours. Bright as noon. Shelves overflowing with food. Outside, the highway lights turned the night into day. People walked freely. No one watched them. No one checked their papers. Is this really our country? My son asked. Yes. Same people. Same language. Another system. On the bus to Hanawan, the government resettlement center for defectors, we looked out at the Seoul skyline. Endless lights. Rivers of cars. I held my wife's hand. We did it. We saved him. She cried in silence. A new life was starting. We spent 3 months in Hanawan. Welcome to the Republic of Korea, the instructor said. Here, you can live freely. Free. The word still felt awkward in my mouth. At first, everything shocked me. In the supermarket, I saw more food in one aisle than my entire neighborhood had seen in a year. You didn't need a ration card to buy an apple. I stood there and cried. Convenience stores open all night. Streets lit up until dawn. Internet access to news from every corner of the world. One night, my wife said quietly, "They say here you can curse Kim Jong-un. And no one comes to your door." We both stared at each other, half laughing, half terrified. Adapting wasn't easy. The way people spoke was different. We'd grown up saying comrade. Here, people said Mr. and Ms. The food tasted different too. The kimchi was spicier. Even the soybean paste stew had a stronger flavor. But under the differences, we were still the same people. We celebrated the same holidays, used the same alphabet, sang the same folk songs. Our son adjusted the fastest. Dad, I want to take the GED, he said. Then I'll go to college. Do it, I told him. Here, no one can stop you. After 3 months, we left Hanawan. The government gave us resettlement money and helped us find an apartment. A small place in Gyeonggi province. Not big, but for the first time, it was ours. No informants on the other side of the wall. Honey, this is our home, my wife said. No one's listening to us through the walls. She laughed and cried at the same time. I found work helping other defectors. My years as a party cadre helped me explain the system they'd escaped. My wife started working in a restaurant. The customers say thank you, she told me one day. In the north, that alone would have felt strange. Our son took the GED. He passed. Then one afternoon, he burst into the apartment, waving a letter. Dad, I got in. I'm a university student. We all held hands and cried again. In North Korea, that had been nothing more than a fantasy. Even in that joy, something stayed with us. The ache of leaving people behind. My wife's parents, my hometown mountains, friends who had no idea where I had gone. Can you look up news about the North? My wife asked one night. We opened the internet and typed North Korea into the search bar. News about Kim Jong-un, about Kim Joo-ae, and about Kim Yo-jong. The power struggle I had glimpsed in that hallway was still unfolding. So what you heard was true, my wife said quietly. Yes, and now I have to testify. People need to know what that country is. How terrifying power can be. How they humiliate even their own blood. A year passed. We often walked up Namsan Mountain in Seoul. From the top, you can see north. I would stand there and imagine my hometown. My parents' graves. Friends I once played with on dusty roads. Dad, when we unify, can we go back? My son asked. Yes, I answered. We'll go back proud, as free citizens, not as suspects. Reunification became our new dream, that the people we left behind would one day feel this same freedom. One evening, we were watching the news. The anchor spoke calmly. Kim Jong-un appeared in public today with his daughter, Kim Joo-ae. Analysts say this is part of a clear succession plan. On the screen, a young girl stood next to Kim Jong-un. My mind shot back to that night in 2019. Joo-ae is still a child. Kim Yo-jong's voice screaming in that empty hallway. The order that followed put her in charge of the pleasure squad. The cold reply: this is not a demotion. It's a reassignment. The fear that chased me down the hallway. The inspections. The river. So in the end, Joo-ae really did become the heir, I murmured. One day, South Korea's National Intelligence Service called me in. Mr. Park, what you witnessed is extremely valuable, the officer said. Very few people have directly heard evidence of Kim Yo-jong's demotion. I told them everything. October 17, 2019. The hallway outside the conference room in the Central Committee building. The quiver in Kim Yo-jong's voice. Brother, this is an insult. The cold party official. The subsequent purges. The list of names. The terror of guilt by association. Thanks to your testimony, we have a clearer picture of North Korea's internal power structure, they said. These days, I work with new defectors. I help them settle in. I listen to their stories. Sometimes they ask, was North Korea really that bad? Yes, I tell them. It's a place where power crushes blood ties, where a leader can humiliate his own sister to protect his throne. I tell them what I saw, what I heard, what it took to leave. I remind them that freedom isn't something we received as a gift. We fought for it. We paid for it with fear, with loss, with a night in a freezing river. On some evenings, I still walk up Namsan. I look north and whisper, Mother, Father, please let the people we left behind taste this freedom soon. Our people survived the Korean War. We endured the IMF crisis in the late 1990s. We got through all of it with stubbornness and grit. One day, when reunification comes, I know where I'll go first. I'll stand again in that hallway in the old party building in Pyongyang. The same place where I once hid behind a column, afraid to breathe. Only this time, I won't be hiding. I'll look the people in the eye and say, you are free. You don't have to obey the party's every order. You can choose for yourselves now. My son is in his 3rd year of college now. He's studying unification policy. Dad, I want to work on reunification, he told me. I want people to know what you went through. I felt my chest tighten. The boy I carried through an icy river is now dreaming about healing that river. Every day, I keep working with defectors. Every time I meet someone new, I tell them, freedom is not free. We staked our lives to reach it. Don't ever forget that. And I keep praying for the day this divided land becomes one again. For the day 25 million people in the North wake up and find they are finally free. The memory of Kim Yo-jong's shaking voice in that hallway still follows me. That memory pushed me to the river, brought me to this country, put me on this path. And until the day we meet as one people again, that memory will keep me walking toward reunification.